Hello everyone, and welcome to our live question and answer session all about postgraduate research opportunities here in the College of Social Sciences. I'm Tony, Student Operations Manager at the College Graduate School here at the University of Glasgow, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this live session. I'm joined today by two of our current researchers and college alumni who will talk to you about their experience and also answer your questions. If there's anything you want to ask the panel, please put your questions into the chat. We'll also post some additional information there for you to see. So now it's time to meet our panel.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
Welcome to you both, David and Gabrielle. So can I initially just ask you to introduce yourself and share a little brief overview of your research here at the College of Social Sciences? David, do you want to go first?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is David, and I'm a second-year PhD student in the School of Education. And my research is an evaluation of Scotland's language learning policy. So that's from primary up to secondary.
Thanks, David. Gabrielle, good to see you.
Hello, Tony. I'm Gabriele Cifrodelli. I'm a third-year PhD student and actually research and teaching assistant in the law school here at University of Glasgow. And my research is on intellectual property, artificial intelligence, and pharmaceutical markets.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gabrielle. Okay, so we'll run through maybe just a few questions. I'll ask a few things around your experience here, and hopefully that'll be of interest to all the people watching. I guess the first question we start with was, why did you choose the University of Glasgow? Gabrielle.
Yes, so we, as you mentioned, we were both alumni here, and I particularly did an LLM in intellectual property and digital economy. So I basically started my path of knowledge in intellectual property here at the University of Glasgow, and I got very fascinated, first of all, by the international community that Glasgow can give, and also the very welcoming environment of the city, but of the university itself, and of course the prestige that the law school, and in particular the research center where I'm currently doing my PhD in, which is CREATE, the Center for the Regulation of Creative Economy, has internationally for the subject of intellectual property and creative economy.
Fantastic, Gabrielle, thanks. David.
I guess I chose Glasgow for my master's because of the prestige and the reputation of the university. But also because I was really interested in the program. And when I interviewed for the position, I thought the lecturers were really welcoming and approachable. I did my teaching qualification here, and then I decided to do my master's online while teaching. And there was also a discount because I had done my teaching qualification at Glasgow Uni. And then after doing my master's, which I really enjoyed, my supervisor suggested I apply for a PhD at Glasgow, and here I am.
Fantastic. Interesting you mentioned that application process. We'll maybe come back to that later on in the conversation. Gabrielle, you mentioned that research community phase. Interested in a bit more detail on that. Could you describe what the Glasgow research community is like?
Absolutely. I think there are different research communities here at the University of Glasgow. There is the closer to you, which is the one of your research center, your research group that you are a part of. But there is also a more wider, I would say, a wider research community within the College of Social Sciences, because especially during the induction days when I started my PhD, but also throughout, of course, my 3 years, I could join the research and development services. I could do a lot of training to become a better researcher, and also meeting so many people. I would say many people from all over the world. I myself, as you can probably notice from my non-Scottish accent, I'm not Scottish, I'm Italian, and I gotta say that there is a very strong international community here, not only of students, but also of staff from all over the place, including, as David was mentioning, lovely lecturers and professors that are actually from all over the world. So you get an exchange of not only of research views and so professionally wise, but also more personally wise. Like you get a lot of cultural exchange in this university.
Thanks, Gabriel. David, anything to add to that from your experience?
Yeah, I would say quite similar things, actually. I think the research community is very diverse, very international. You can meet specialists from all over the world and from all different areas in education, at least. I think it's really good because you also have representatives from the PGR society, but also representatives within your own school. And yeah, I would just say that everyone is very approachable. And if you have any questions, any doubts about a specific issue, you can just send an email and someone will answer you and will help you.
That's great to hear. Thanks, David. I think just picking up on some of the things you're saying then, so there's there is that expertise and your specialism as you found in your own individual schools, but I guess there's also that support from the broader PGR community across the college and the university, which is nice to hear. There's a part of that research community, I think, from conversations we've had, the supervisor and supervisory team that you have for your PhD and your postgraduate research, is a key part of that. That's one of the most crucial relationships that I think that you have. Would it be possible just to ask a bit about the support you get from your supervisors and maybe the wider Glasgow team supporting those supervisors?
Yes. Should I go first?
Yeah, please, Gabriel, that would be great.
Well, I would say the supervisory team is one of the most essential parts here in Glasgow, and it's done in a very good way, because you don't get only one supervisor, which is already something important to highlight, but you get two of them at least, maybe sometimes even three, which at first can seem overwhelming, but it's really not like that. It's really to give the PhD student the possibility to engage with different views and different perspectives, but also a wider support, because a supervisor might be supportive in certain aspects of your path, PhD journey, and another supervisor could be important for other aspects. So I think it's very important, this blending or expertise, but also support that you receive from them. And of course, the supervisory team is only the first step. Then you have also a research, as I was mentioning, a research services kind of support in the wider College of Social Science level. And in the mid, you got also, in my case, but also I think for David, you get the support of the law school, which is always there to, be a contact even between you and the College of Social Sciences itself. So that's very important. I think you get all these layers of protection, of support that are really essential to move forward in your PhD journey and don't get stuck, of course. So that's important.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gabriel. Maybe come back to that PhD journey in a moment, if that's okay. David?
Absolutely. I would completely agree with Gabriel just said. I always say my supervisors are like my family almost. So if I have any issue concern my specific research, I'll send them an email and they'll always help me. I think it's interesting that you also said that we do have two supervisors, so they have different opinions, and that also helps me with critical thinking. But I think your supervisors are also there to show you that there are other opportunities outside of specifically your PhD, so they can help you with networking, and they help me with specific conferences that I didn't know about, or specific reading groups that I'm now part of. So I think your supervisors are there to help you specifically with your PhD, but also wider opportunities that are available within the university. So they're your port of contact, and I would just say they're very supportive. They're always here for me. So if I have an issue, I send them an email, and they're very responsive, very helpful. And I would say that not only for my supervisors, but anyone who works for Glasgow Uni.
That's great. Thanks, David. There's a couple of sort of things we've touched on there. We've maybe touched on the graduate school itself and the supervisor role. So I'm conscious for people maybe hearing these phrases for the first time. I think in summary, we've got, as you've said, we've got academics who are there to support you in your research journey. And we do have the professional services staff in place to then provide the platform and the support for you and the supervisors. So it's nice to hear that you're getting that responsive support. I said we would maybe go back to that comment you'd made, Gabrielle, about that journey. So the starting point, I guess, for that is the PhD application experience. But I'm conscious I've been to you the first couple of times, Gabrielle. So I'll go to David first. David, how was your experience of applying for a PhD at Glasgow?
Well, mine is quite different from what I've discovered talking to people. So from what I've understood, usually people think of a specific project and then apply for funding with people that they may think would be their supervisors. That's not what I did. So I completed my master's online, and then the University of Glasgow gave me the opportunity to publish my thesis, which I didn't expect. And through that, my supervisors told me that there was this PhD project that was already ready to go. They had already applied for funding, and what I had to do was send in a cover letter, send a piece of writing from my master's, and then interview for the position. And so I interviewed, and they were crazy enough to choose me. But apparently that's not how it usually works. But I would say that at first I felt a bit like a fraud, thinking, oh, I didn't think of this project on my own. But actually they chose me for a specific reason. So however you've been chosen to study for a PhD, it depends on the situation. Everyone is different, if that makes sense.
No, it does, David. Sometimes we use the phrase, supervisor-led projects, because we have got that, they come around in the way you've mentioned. So thank you for that. Gabrielle, how was your experience in terms of the application process?
Yeah, I mean, as David mentioned, I think every PhD application process is different and unique in their own way. In my case, I just completed my LLM with Glasgow, and also my dissertation went really well. It got a nice award, and then the people from the research center, they told me that there was this opportunity of a PhD funded, of a funded PhD in kind of connection with a part-time research and teaching assistant position that I could consider applying to. So my situation as a PhD student is a little bit different, because I not only do my PhD work, which is always there, but I also teach and do extra research in the law school. So there is this kind of blend of PhD and research and teaching assistant. So basically I applied, I got in, and basically while my PhD got funded on my own kind of research proposal that I suggested to my prospective supervisors during the application process, then I also got appointed as a research and teaching assistant within the law school. And I think that's been great, because over there is not only in that case, there is not only the aspect of getting your research skills on your PhD, but you also get some teaching skills, which can be useful, especially for a future career in academia. So I guess that's an important aspect. And I gotta say, both the law school and the college always kind of supported me throughout this kind of particular journey, but very, very, a very interesting one. So, sure. Yeah.
Thanks, Gabrielle. And I'm conscious, I can see that some of our colleagues are very helpful, been posting some links into the comments for more information on what that application process would look like and how to start that journey. If it's okay, just to get next stages on from that journey, and this is tying back to that sort of supervisor relationship. So I think there are other sort of key milestones in your PhD journey. So it might be useful just to give people a sense of, from the application to commencing what is a 3 years journey for people, sometimes a little bit more. Interesting to know what other sort of milestones there are within that process. So I think one thing, sorry, just as an example, I think we talk about annual progress reviews, just as that sort of checkpoint to make sure everything's going on there.
So yeah, exactly. The fact that you're already starting a PhD, you should already be proud of yourself, because you got in any way you got probably funding in some circumstances, and people were interested in you and in your ideas in any shape and form. So that's the first thing. Then during the first year, usually you basically go into an exploratory journey, I like to call it, and you start gather readings, gather information that could build could of course strengthen your research proposal even more, but even slightly change it according to the research that you are conducting. In my case, being a legal person is mostly reading statutes, case law, but also a lot of literature in that, and then starting getting your own ideas, starting finding your own voice. And I gotta say, the APR, the annual progress review, is an important step over there, because don't think like that, because I was scared at first when I was told that I had to go through an APR my first year, because you think, oh, I'm gonna be assessed. It's not only that, but it's mostly also for the university, for the law school and the university, to see how they can support you further, and also to get a feedback on the job, the supporting job that they are doing themselves. So I think it's all there to help you and to bring you forward again in your PhD journey, and getting in the second year where you have already a nicely kind of ready, or almost ready to go research proposal, and then you gotta just build on that and start the research side and the writing aspect of it. So yeah,
fantastic. David, I don't know if you get anything to add on that.
Yeah, I think I would agree. The PhD is a very adventurous process, because you're going into something new. You're not sure how it works, but remember that your supervisors are always there to help you through it. So I guess I started with a literature review, and then I looked at my methodology, and now I'm looking at data collection, and I'm going into schools. But I think that, as you said, Gabrielle, the APR was more of a professional dialogue, and it's not really an examination, because remember, the university wants you to succeed. Your supervisors want you to succeed. So they're there as a support to help you. And yeah.
That's great. Thanks for that, David. Thanks, Gabrielle. Mm-hmm. People are obviously very interested in reacting to all the experiences you're sharing. There's been 3 questions about the graduate teaching assistant role that you mentioned there, Gabrielle. Could you maybe just give a little bit more information on that?
Yes, absolutely. I think it depends again on the personal kind of experience, because in my situation, I'm exactly a research and teaching assistant. So I do some teaching to support my team of lecturers throughout the academic year in the first and second semester. And I mostly teach. The thing that is really good is that I teach the subjects that I do research on, which is mostly IP law, which is amazing, because you get again the research and the teaching side. Then as far as I'm aware, in the law school at least, there is the possibility in general to any PhD students in any kind of funding situation you might find yourself, to apply for a GTA, graduate teaching assistant position, I think starting from the second year, if I'm correct, and then you can basically being assigned to teach mostly tutoring to students in different subjects, depending what your interests are. So your research interests are most of the time taken into account then for in case of a GTA kind of contract that might come afterwards. So keep an eye on that, because I think it's a really good opportunity. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Gabrielle. I'm interested in that, and it does sound a great opportunity that's there. But it comes with a workload. How do you balance the demands of that role with your own research?
Very good question, I would say, especially if you asked me 3 years ago, that would have been a tough question to answer. I guess it takes a bit of an organization, especially at first, because with the PhD, you kind of are on your own, but also, of course, with all the support that you get, but at the end, it's your own journey. So you always need to balance it out and find time for your PhD where you don't focus at all on your RTA kind of job, but then also kind of shift there. And I think an organization, especially a to-do list at the beginning of the day, can always help in this sense. But it's good for organizational skills. And I gotta be honest, my team in my research center always supported me throughout that path, because basically the people I'm working with are the same people that are supervising me, or anyway helping me with my PhD project. Also, this helped me a lot in that. A good organization, I think that's all it takes, and everyone can do it.
Thanks, Gabriel. David, any thoughts from you just on that balancing workload, not just in terms of graduate teaching assistant roles, but just generally, during the time you're carrying out your own research?
Yeah, I think I would agree with Gabriel. It is a balancing act, and so you do have a lot of work to do, a lot of research to do. But I think to-do list helps, that's for sure. But also, make sure that you're not constantly working. You also need to have that balance with time off and not working for a few hours so that you can think about your research, or take a few days off as well. That's allowed. You shouldn't be working 24 hours a day. I'm not doing any teaching this year, but my supervisors said that they would suggest I do it after I complete my data collection. But on the side, I'm working on another project apart from the PhD with my supervisors, looking at learning engagement and how football could maybe motivate learners in terms of language learning content. But through that, my supervisor said that we could maybe publish an article together. So yeah, it depends what you're interested in, and your supervisors will always be there to help you.
Thanks, David. It's really encouraging to hear that the conversation with the supervisor is a very personal one and very specific to your own individual circumstances, which is how we'd want it to be. I think we could carry on talking for a long time, I think, about your current research and where you are, but I'm going to fast forward if we can, and just ask you both a little question about what you would like to do after your PhD and how you think it will help. David, why don't you go for it? Sorry, Gabriel.
Well, I guess with the PhD, there's so many opportunities that you can do with it. So I definitely enjoy academia, but I also really like teaching in high school, which is what I did before doing the PhD. So I think I would like to continue with teaching, but also do some research on the side to try and link theory and practice. And I would like to stay in Scotland, but it depends on the job market and what opportunities I have. But I would say the world's your oyster. You can do anything, go anywhere, with that PhD, with that title, because it shows that you're independent and committed. So whatever you want to do, I would say it's an asset.
Thanks, David. Gabriel?
Yeah, I think a PhD opens a lot of opportunities, because as David mentioned, even while you're doing your PhD, there might be other further collaborations with your own supervisors, but also with external peoples that you might meet, I don't know, in a conference, and networking with them and kind of build up something there. Personally, I would like to stay in academia because I like this freedom, first of all, in doing research, but also in teaching. I really like teaching, and I really like being challenged with students. It's a very fascinating thing that you can do both in academia. So it's a very, I would say, privileged position that you are in. But also maybe in the future, considering also industry would be interesting, because they might require skills, research skills that are not always that common in industry, in companies, but they might need that, to progress further and to foster kind of innovation in different kind of industries and research fields. So, and not only in a university, but maybe in a, I don't know, in a private research center somewhere that needs these skills. So I think, again, a PhD can be it can be the opening for a lot of interesting opportunities and collaborations, meeting a lot of people. That's a beautiful thing, meeting and networking with a lot of people from all over the place, especially in a diverse environment as is the University of Glasgow. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gabrielle. Nice to hear that Scotland and Glasgow's created such a positive impression. I'm not sure we can always guarantee this sort of weather, but we'll do our best. I've got one final question rather before we pick up questions from the audience that they've been very helpfully and kindly leaving into the section. But a final question to you, and it is one for definitely for the audience, is what advice would you give to prospective postgraduate research students thinking of applying and thinking coming to the College of Social Sciences here at University of Glasgow? Gabrielle,
yeah,
please do.
So take your time, because you want to think about that seriously. It's a journey that you are gonna do for 3 years, and you want to think about a proposal or a project that might that can inspire and keep you busy and don't bore you for 3 years time. So take your time to think in advance. Any type of funding opportunities, think really in advance, because there are always of course strict deadlines that you gotta abide to. So think about doing the PhD in advance. Be in touch with your prospective supervisors. Don't be scared, because they are there to help. Even if they don't know you quite well, they will help you in many situations, because writing and kind of proposing a project is not an easy thing to do. So take your time. That's my most important advice. And also enjoy the journey while you do that, because even if for some reason you're not successful, or you might get an obstacle on the way, it's still a learning process that can be very useful in the future for any kind of jobs that you want to pursue later on. So yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Gabrielle. David?
Yeah, I would agree with everything Gabrielle said. Interestingly, I have a wee list here, and it says take your time, which is what you said, Gabrielle. But yeah, I think focus on the project that you might be interested. Have a think about that, and then get in touch with your supervisors and tell them that you have this idea, and discuss it with them. And as Gabrielle said, they're here to help you. And then also think about the funding aspect of things. And so have a look at different links that the university has, different opportunities. And yeah, make sure you're really passionate about the subject that you're looking at, because as Gabrielle said, it is 3 years. It is a long time that you'll be focusing on that specific project. I'm biased. I would say it's worth it. But yeah, really think about a concrete project that you think you're really passionate about. And yeah, that's the most important thing, I would say. Passion, interest, and just get in touch with your supervisors. They'll answer, or your prospective supervisors in this case.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I think that the other, I think that those are words of wisdom which I think people will take to heart. The other thing that I've heard mentioned quite often is, and it touches on something you mentioned, David, about taking a break. It's a long period of study, and making sure that you have that balance, and you give yourself a chance to enjoy that period, and you don't get too immersed. It can, I think I've heard from people, it can feel at times quite a solitary piece of work, and that's where the kind of comments we had and questions we had at the start around that wider research community, I think, come into play. So you don't feel that, risk that sense of isolation when you become very focused. I'm going to take us to a couple of the comments and questions, that we've had posted by the audience, and thanks again for doing that. So We have a question from Colette, which is, do MRes students need to apply for a research supervisor, or are supervisors assigned automatically? So on that one, I think my guidance, I guess my response with that would be, it depends on the programme itself. It's best to get that answer specifically from the people responsible for delivery of that programme. If we can take that question and pass that on, and if you're comfortable, we can try and get a response back to you. Would be my take on that one. And then from Manas, do you have a postdoc programme, and if so, what is the fellowship like? So I think that's my understanding, again, is something that's in development. We have the alumni network, but in terms of a formal postdoctoral programme, David, Gabrielle, unless that's something that's been explained to you, I don't think there is that formal programme just now. Okay.
Yeah, basically there are different fellowships depending on the school where you are in and depending the college you're in that you can consider applying to. And of course, postdoc as the PhD itself is a very individual experience that you go through, and also in terms of application can be very different depending really almost from school to school. So yeah, that's a very specific kind of journey as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Gabrielle. That's helpful. To everybody watching, I will say thanks very much. I'm just keeping an eye to see if there are more unanswered questions, because our colleagues have been doing a sterling job in terms of posting responses to some of the questions that they have been able to answer to as we've gone through. They've added helpful links for some of the questions. Unless there's anything else, David, Gabrielle, that you want to add, we can maybe look to bring the session to a close. Any final thoughts, comments? No? That's great. So just leaves it to me to say thank you to both of you. It's been a pleasure to hear your experience, and I think everyone appreciates your openness and willingness to share your own experience. As I say, that does bring us to the end of the question answer. I hope everyone watching has found that useful. So this, and there have been some other recordings today, but this will be made available and it'll be on the website over the next few days if you want to watch anything back. So to find out more about studying at the University of Glasgow, we do have the YouTube channel, and you can view programme overviews and student videos. And to connect with other students to find out what it's like to study at Glasgow, you can chat online using UniBuddy. So final comment then again is just to thank everyone for joining the session today, and we hope to see you on campus soon.
And thanks very much for hosting, Tony. You've been a wonderful host. Thank you.
Thank you,
Gabrielle. Thanks, David. Bye all.